Hello everyone, and welcome to the November edition of Multicloud Happenings. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Tammy Bednar, and I'm going to be your host and presenter for today's topic, which is AWS KMS integration for Exadata Database Service on Oracle Database at AWS. Quite a mouthful, but a great topic nevertheless to talk about in November. So hopefully all of you that are joining today, you're getting ready for the holiday season, which I can't believe is already here. So let's get started on our topic today. So we're going to talk about key management solutions for Oracle Database at AWS. We're going to talk about the AWS KMS integration because that's why we're here. I'm going to do a brief screenshot demo of how to set up and configure the AWS KMS integration. Then I have a slide on best practices and considerations, and finally some roadmap items from there. Also, if you have any questions, please post those on the Q&A or in the Q&A, I should say. So let's first level set. Oracle Database at AWS. What is it? It's a multi-cloud solution that is providing you the best of both worlds. It gives you the best hyperscaler service from AWS, whatever the compute options are, DevOps, analytics, AI services as well, together with having the Oracle Database services to provide the Oracle Database. And today at the Oracle Database at AWS solution, we offer two different, or I should say three, of the Oracle OCI database services. So we have the Autonomous AI database dedicated, the Exadata Database Service dedicated, and then for backup and recovery, we also have the Autonomous Recovery Service. So the whole idea is that we co-locate these services and applications very close together that gives you or provides you low latency between your applications and the database. And for all those applications that can sometimes be chatty, this is a really good thing to have the lower latency capability. So just to kind of give you a deeper dive into what that looks like, here is a high-level architecture picture of an AWS region. And within that region, of course, you have different zones. So this is a picture of a single availability zone. And within that zone, you have application VPCs, you have your application subnets, and of course, you have your applications located within that application subnet. Then we have a networking, I should say, integration called the ODB network or the Oracle Database Network. That's what ODB stands for. And within that network integration, we have an OCI child site. Within that OCI child site that is co-located in that same AWS zone is the services. Now, I said we have three different services. We have Autonomous AI Database, the Autonomous Recovery Service, and the Exadata Database Service. I'm just showing the Exadata Database Service here because that's what we're really going to focus on today. So here you have the physical Exadata Database Service on dedicated infrastructure located or co-located in the same zone as your applications. And then you can see that we also have an OCI managed network that goes over to an OCI or connects to an OCI region. And within that OCI region, that's where the control plane is located. And for those of you that may be new to the cloud infrastructure, the control plane is really what does a lot of the automation of our services. And so anytime that you run services in the cloud, and that's the difference between running on-premise and the cloud, is you want to use the control plane automation. So that way we can collect the metadata information, we can help you manage your services and applications in a much more automated fashion. Okay, so hopefully that kind of level sets, gives you a picture of physically where all the different components are located. So now let's talk about security for a minute, especially when it comes to data and encryption. So, the Oracle database has had the capability to encrypt data for many years. That's one of the first all-important things that was implemented was called transparent data encryption in the Oracle database. Now, the best thing about transparent data encryption, it's called that for a reason, that you never had to change your applications in order to take advantage of encrypting and protecting that data at rest. It just automatically encrypts and decrypts data when it's written to disk. So that protects your data at rest. Now, I have been around Oracle for several years, working with many of you and many customers within the database area. A lot of on-premise customers haven't really encrypted or may not have felt the need in order to encrypt data at rest. However, when you move to the cloud, it is mandatory that all the data is encrypted that's running in your databases in the cloud. And so we continue to use transparent data encryption. So how does that work? It's a two-tier architecture. So TDE, or transparent data encryption, encrypts the data whenever it's written to disk. Now, when we encrypt the data, whether it's at the table space level, which is the easiest, you just encrypt all the data in the table space, and then that way you don't have to figure out which data may be more sensitive than others. You can encrypt at the column level, you can encrypt at the table level. We also encrypt backups. So when we make those encryptions or write that encrypted data, we have something called a data encryption key. So you have a table encryption key, a column encryption key, backup encryption key. Wherever your encryption, you have a key. However, the second tier or the other tier architecture of this key management is a master encryption key. And the master encryption key wraps or encrypts each of those data encryption keys themselves. So that's where that two-tier architecture comes into play. Now, what you need to protect is that all-important master encryption key. If you lose the key, that's not a good thing. Oracle support does not have a backdoor into finding or getting your data if you lose the master key. That's why we're here today to talk about how to protect that master encryption key. So the master encryption key for security is stored outside of the database. So you can see in this picture that all the table, column, backup keys are stored there with the data, but that master encryption key that you need to open or decrypt that data is outside of the database, right? Now, where can you protect that master encryption key? It can be stored in the Oracle Wallet, and the Oracle Wallet has been around from the beginning. We're going to talk about your options in just a second. We also have a solution called Oracle Key Vault. And Oracle Key Vault is a solution which you can run to protect your keys on premises, in the cloud, in multi-cloud. So if you're looking to store data in the same data or a lot of data in on premises or a number of multi-clouds, you may want to take a look at Oracle Key Vault, but that's not why we're here today, but I want to mention that. And then we also integrate with third-party HSMs. We also have OCI Vault, which is OCI's solution for protecting data within the OCI the cloud provider. And then we also now have cloud provider native KMS integration. And today that's why we're talking about AWS KMS integration. Now, one of the things that's interesting is that you really should understand or know that the interface or the standard library that Oracle uses to manage those keys is called PKCS number 11. It's a standard interface. It's been around for a very long time. And so any key management provider that you use, you need to make sure that they use or integrate with PKCS number 11. The way it works within Oracle, we'll get some more details, is you can only have one PKCS 11 driver or library for the databases that are provisioned in a VM cluster at any time. And you'll see more how that works in just a minute. So the Exadata Database Service, we have built-in, always-on, transparent data encryption. Like I said, in the cloud, it's always important that it's a must to store or encrypt your data in the cloud. Okay, that's a little bit of overview of what TDE is. So again, protecting the data, you have several different choices, or protecting, sorry, that master key. The Oracle Wallet is a local encrypted key store, and that has been the default for managing master keys from the beginning. We've always had Oracle Wallets. A lot of customers still use the Oracle Wallets, and it's perfectly fine for managing your master encryption keys. The other option is OCI Vault, and that is Oracle's native cloud-based key management system. It is a software system. It's also HSM backed. So if you're looking for a third-party HSM solution that works with OCI Vault, Talus has been integrated with OCI Vault. I'm sure there are others out there that can also work. Just check with your vendor if you're working with them today. The third option from Oracle is called Oracle Key Vault. And Oracle Key Vault is a centralized key management to manage those external keys and also secrets. I think all of them, the OCI Vault also manages secrets as well. And so Oracle Key Vault works with all the cloud providers that I mentioned today, OCI, AWS, GCP, as well as Azure. So, and on-premise databases. So if you have data in multiple places and you're looking for a single one, a solution to manage those keys, take a look at Oracle Key Vault, but that's not where we're here today. What we're here today is talk about AWS KMS integration with the Exadata Database Service. So I told you that we really need to manage those master keys. So the benefits of having a key management integration, whatever that solution is it's giving you a centralized key management solution. So you can use the same key management solution for both applications and databases. You can store the master encryption key in the standard or cloud HSM key store in AWS. And keys are stored separately from the database itself, which we saw that picture to begin with. Also, it gives you separation of duties. You may not want your DBAs to also be able to control your keys. So you can set up roles to identify who can manage those keys, who can create the keys, rotate them, delete them, which don't delete them if you've got backups with those keys. So it really does give you separation of duties, and that's very important when it comes to security of your data. Third is regulatory compliance. We know that it's very important to many of you in order to meet regulatory and compliance that you need KMS support. So we have a lot of regulations out there, and AWS KMS can help you meet with those regulatory compliance along with the Oracle Database TDE solution. And I just mentioned we have a number of different management options. So it really all comes down to understanding where your data is located, where it needs to be encrypted, and how you want to manage those all important master encryption keys, because you never want to lose those keys. You want to make sure that you understand thoroughly where the master encryption keys are stored, how long they're managed, how they're managed, and what you need to be able to access those master encryption keys to do the everyday business of opening the database, applications being able to select it, and also being able to back up the data and restore the data when it's encrypted as well. So with AWS KMS, you have a couple of options to manage those master encryption keys. So first is the AWS KMS, I call that the standard. It is HSM backed. It has FIPS 140-2 level 3 compliance. It does support symmetric and asymmetric keys. You can bring your own key. You does have geo-replication capability. Then the second option is AWS Cloud HSM. It is a fully isolated HSM device. It has FIPS 140-2 Level 3 compliance, and it does also support symmetric and asymmetric key types, and you can bring your own key. It does not support georeplication at this time. More information on that link below on the different AWS KMS options. Okay, so in order to integrate the Exadata Database Service databases with the AWS KMS solution, there are three different major steps. You need to prepare to use the AWS KMS keys. You'll configure the AWS KMS keys, and then finally, you'll use what you've done previously to protect the data or your encryption keys in the Oracle database. So let's take a look at each of these steps. Okay, at the very beginning, I showed you a diagram of what the Exadata Database Server, I'm sorry, the Oracle Database at AWS architecture looks like. When we're all done with those three steps at this, after the configuration and encrypting your data, you'll have the Oracle Exadata Database Service, again, within the availability zone. And then you will also have created or provisioned an AWS Security Token Service, along with an AWS IAM role, so that you can make sure to identify who has access and who can manage those keys. And then, of course, an AWS KMS service integration as well. And then on the OCI side, we will also have an identity connection service, or IDCS, also created when we're done with the configuration. Okay, so let's take a look at some screenshots on those steps that you take to configure or integrate with the AWS KMS. So the very first thing you do, okay, before we get started, let me level set. I'm going to make the assumption here that that you've already created or provisioned an Exadata Database Service infrastructure, and you've already provisioned an Exadata VM cluster. The VM cluster is where your databases are provisioned. So I'm going to assume that's already done. Or if you haven't already done that, these are going to be part of the steps when you provision the VM cluster. So before we get started, the very first thing you're going to do is configure or verify that an OCI identity domain has been created. So the identity domain acts as the identity provider, and this authenticates the database to allow access to AWS Key Management System. Where you find that is when you go to the AWS console, and under Oracle Database at AWS, there's a new, menu selection called Settings. And when you go to Settings, you will see an OCI identity domain if it's already configured. If not, at this point in time, you can select a configure button, or you can configure an identity domain, and you want to make sure that the status is available. So that's the first step into the integration. The next step is that you either want to create or modify your current ODB network. And the reason you need to do this is, remember, you need that in security token service, which grants access to AWS KMS. So in the ODB network, there is a section called Configure Service Integrations. You can see there's several here, but the one that you really want to look at today is the Security Token Service, or STS. When you check on that, that is going to enable us to access that AWS KMS key. Okay, so once the network is completed, or with the STS, then you want to associate the service and role to the VM cluster that's already been created. If not, if you haven't created or provisioned your VM cluster, you will do this as part of that step as well. But I already have a VM cluster created, and when I go and take a look at the VM cluster details, you can see that there are several different options of additional configuration you can do. And one of those is called IAM service roles. Now, if there's no IAM service role being displayed here or being able to select, the first thing you're going to do is click on Cloud Formation. And this Cloud Formation will walk you through the steps or the information to create that OpenID connector or OIDC provider and also an IAM role. Once that is created, it will then show up here under the IAM service roles. You will select it and you'll press associate. Then a pop-up window will come up to verify that you want to associate this OIDC and the role. And then once it's associated, you will see the status will say associated. So it's very important that those three things are completed before you move to the next step, because this is what gives you all that security on who can access keys and how to provision or manage those master encryption keys. Okay, so now that the prereq steps are completed, now you're ready to create an AWS KMS key and assign that IAM role as a key user. So you're going to go to KMS, Customer Managed Keys, Create Key. So the first thing you're going to do is say Configure Key. Now, remember I said that AWS KMS supports both symmetric and asymmetric keys? For the Oracle database, we only support symmetric keys. So you're going to need to select symmetric. Key usage will be encrypt and decrypt. And then the option of which key management system do you want to use? You can use the AWS KMS, or you can use the AWS Cloud HSM Key Store. That's up to you which one that you prefer to use. Then step 2, which I didn't show here, you can add some labels to organize your objects. Step 3 is to take a look and define key administrative permission. So this is those roles for separation of duties on who has permission to control this key management. So you select the role, and also you can specify whether they have the privileges to delete the key as well. So once that's done, you go to the next step where you can define additional key usage permissions. Finally, you have an option to edit the key policy from a permissions aspect. And then once you've reviewed all that, you press the next button and then create. So that completes the key creation. Once the key is created in AWS, you're going to hop over into the OCI console and register the key with Oracle OCI. So there is now, if you go to the Oracle AI database option in the OCI console, you'll now see a multi-cloud menu option and register AWS keys. You'll come down and press on Discover, and if all those prerequisites are configured, then your key that you just created will then be displayed here. You will click on it and click Register. So now that completes the registration and the communication between AWS and the Oracle databases. Then the final option for enabling the ability to manage those encryption keys with AWS KMS is to enable key management. Say, yep, for sure, I want to use AWS KMS to manage my keys. So you're going to go over to your Exadata VM cluster that you'd already created. You go to the VM cluster information tab, and under AWS key management, you'll click enable. Once that's enabled, you're now ready to provision your database and manage it with AWS KMS. So you'll enter all the information for your database, and when it comes down to the encryption, you have a drop-down menu. Now within a VM cluster where you provision your databases, you can either use AWS KMS or you can continue to use the Oracle Wallet. If you have other databases that you want to manage with a different key management solution, then you're going to have to provision those in a different VM cluster. So all the databases within a VM cluster, when you encrypt them to manage the keys, you either choose, in this particular case, AWS KMS or the Oracle Wallet. You specify the compartment and the key that you created, and then you press create for your database. And so now your database is now or your, I should say, your database keys or your master encryption keys are now being managed by AWS KMS. When you want to rotate that key, because I know that's one of those important parts, you always want to do that from the OCI perspective, whether it's in the console or whether it's using the OCI CLI. You'll go to your database. You can rotate the key at the CDB level or at the PDB level. So you go to your database information, you'll say, I want to rotate my key, and then you'll say confirm, and your key will then be rotated. So you always want to rotate your key from the OCI perspective or your Oracle database perspective. And again, you can rotate keys at the CDB level, or here, this is an example of rotating a key at the PDB level. So you can have separate keys for CDBs and PDBs as well. It all depends on the level of security that you want to implement. Okay, so that's all there is to it to get started with your AWS KMS integration with Exadata Database Service. So here's a few best practices and considerations that I just wanted to mention. You enable KMS at the VM cluster level, so all the databases that are provisioned within that VM cluster has the option to use that KMS option or the Oracle Wallet. So you can use the Oracle Wallet and the KMS option with all the databases in the same VM cluster. Just remember that one. Perform key rotation using the OCI interfaces, which I just mentioned. You can, when you're adding VMs to a cluster, you need to update the identity connector and extend the KMS access to all the different VMs that you create in a cluster. So if you extend the cluster, if you go from 2 nodes to 3 nodes, then you just need to extend it to make sure it goes across all the nodes in that VM cluster. Also, you want to make sure that both the source and target databases use the same TDE for cloning, for refreshing, or if you relocate your PDB from one CDB to another. Disaster recovery. So unfortunately today, and we're still working on it, the AWS KMS does not support cross-region data guard or restore with the managed databases. So it is coming, it's on there. So if you decide you want to use key management today, well, it went your key management and you're going to use AWS in the future with your standby databases, I would start with the Oracle Wallet. Because once you have the keys in the Oracle Wallet, it's going to be very easy to manage those keys or move those keys into the AWS KMS. So once the cross-region data guard is available, if that's what's required for your high availability, then it'd be very easy to move those keys into AWS KMS from the Oracle Wallet. Make sure that you have all those prerequisites that we went through before you create the standby creation. If you create one, make sure you understand where the keys are, where they manage them. And then plan your key store changes carefully. So switching from AWS KMS to Oracle Wallet is supported, and we can do that via the DBAS CLI command prompt. So if you move your keys or start utilizing AWS KMS to manage your master encryption keys, and you decide that you want to use a different key management solution, you can move back to the Oracle Wallet, or you can move from the Oracle Wallet to AWS KMS. So hopefully that's clear on where to manage those keys. So you just want to make sure you understand when you choose a solution that you understand how the management of the keys works properly. Okay, roadmap items. I just mentioned cross-region data guard support with AWS KMS. We are also working to automate the enablement during the VM clustering provision. So I know we went through 3 steps with some of those substeps. We're working to automate that a little bit better for you so it's easier to enable that library during the VM clustering provision. We are looking to automate key rotation so that you could actually set up a schedule and we will automatically rotate that key for you as well. And we're also looking to automatically discover and register those resource anchors from AWS over to OCI so you don't have to do those extra steps to make sure that the configuration or the integration is done manually. So you can see that we wanted to get the solution out to you for your key management solution, and now we'll work on the automation. But if there's some other ideas that you would like to see from us on automation or other integration capabilities, please reach out and let us know. We're always happy to hear from you on feedback and what you need when it comes to key management. So the availability of this capability went live last week on November the 18th. It is available in 2 regions, a US East, which is in Northern Virginia, and US West in Oregon. As we add additional region to the Oracle Database at AWS solutions, this will also be available as well. The management interfaces to configure the AWS KMS integration. You use the AWS console as you saw to start with, and then we have the OCI console. We also have APIs, SDKs, and command line interfaces to do all that configuration management as well. Okay, to learn more about Oracle Database at AWS, here are a few links for you. We have the first one on oracle.com/cloud/AWS. There's pricing, there's video demos, documentation links as well. Here's 2 bit.ly links that I created for you. The first one, bit.ly/AWS-KMS-ExaDB. Excuse me, that's a link directly to the Exadata Database Service documentation. There's a chapter there on the integration with AWS KMS. And then we have bit.ly/AWS KMS-NC, which stands for Multicloud-Doc, is a link to our documentation in our Oracle Multicloud documentation as well. Okay, that brings me to the end of this topic for today. If you have any questions, please post those in Q&A, and I'm happy to answer those for you. So I think the key takeaways here is that we want to make sure that we give you the choice and the flexibility to manage that all-important master encryption key. Whether you continue to use the Oracle Wallet, you look at OCI Vault or Oracle Key Vault, and AWS KMS. So by the way, if you're also running, I know that many of you are using multiple different cloud providers. And as you know, we support Oracle Database at AWS, at Azure, and at Google Cloud. And we've integrated with all 3 key management solutions as well. So if you're running in one of those clouds, take a look at that, see what the best solution is for you to manage those master encryption keys. We're providing the centralized key management solution for you so that you can manage, if you're always only running in AWS, that you'll be able to manage those keys for your application and database in one centralized location. And it is seamless integration. I know it felt like several steps, but as you can see, they're very easy. It's kind of very logical on all the different steps that you need to go through to make this integration tied together to ensure that the master encryption key integration work seamlessly. Because, as I said, you don't want to lose that master encryption key because there's no backdoor into the Oracle database. That's why we encrypt the data to protect your data as well. Okay, I hopefully that wasn't too fast and that covered a lot of information. I know we went through a lot of steps. This is being recorded. You can always go back. And also, please take a look at the documentation for a lot more details on this integration as well. Okay, well, with that, I think I'll let you guys go today. And I want to wish you all a very happy holiday season and come back next month when we have a next multi-cloud topic as well. All right, thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye now.